Why you should question everything. The Socratic Method in action. In a world overflowing with information, opinions, and dogma, one of the most radical yet essential actions you can take is to question everything. Not in a cynical, combative way, but in the spirit of curiosity, truth-seeking, and intellectual humility. At the heart of this powerful approach is a practice born over 2,000 years ago, the Socratic Method. While it may sound like a relic from ancient philosophy, the Socratic Method remains one of the most practical and transformative tools for navigating modern life, from classroom discussions to business meetings and personal beliefs. In this article, we'll explore why you should adopt this method of inquiry, how it works, and what it means to live a life guided by reasoned questioning. The man behind the method, Socrates. To understand the Socratic Method, we must first understand its originator, Socrates, the classical Greek philosopher who lived in Athens during the 5th century BCE. Unlike other thinkers of his time, Socrates left behind no written texts. What we know of him comes primarily from his student, Plato, whose dialogues immortalize Socratic conversations. Socrates spent his life walking the streets of Athens, engaging people from politicians and poets to artisans and everyday citizens in philosophical conversations. He rarely made claims himself. Instead, he posed questions, and more questions, and still more. Through this process, he would lead his interlocutors into more profound thought, often exposing contradictions in their reasoning or revealing that they didn't understand a concept as clearly as they thought. His approach was so disruptive that it ultimately led to his trial and execution. He was accused of corrupting the youth and impiety, but in truth, his crime was asking too many uncomfortable questions. What is the Socratic Method? At its core, the Socratic Method is a form of cooperative dialogue based on asking and answering questions. It encourages critical thinking and illuminates underlying assumptions, inconsistencies, and weak arguments. Rather than accepting information at face value or assuming the correctness of one's beliefs, the Socratic Method challenges the thinker to define terms clearly, provide logical justification, consider counter-arguments, reflect on the consequences of their ideas. It is not meant to humiliate or dominate others in conversation. Instead, it seeks shared understanding through mutual exploration. The Socratic Method is less about proving others wrong and more about refining your own thinking, a kind of intellectual self-defense and tool for truth-seeking. Why you should question everything. So why should you adopt a mindset of constant questioning? Isn't it exhausting to challenge every belief, claim, or norm? Let's explore the many reasons why this approach is not only valuable but vital, especially in the 21st century. 1. Truth is often hidden beneath assumptions. Much of what we know isn't knowledge. It's assumption, hearsay, or cultural conditioning. The Socratic Method reveals how easily we accept flawed or vague beliefs without realizing it. For example, someone might say, "Success means being rich." A Socratic approach would ask, what is success? Why is wealth associated with success? Are there forms of success that don't involve money? Could someone be rich and still be unsuccessful? Through these questions, we uncover layers of meaning, contradiction, and perhaps a more refined definition of success. 2. Critical thinking is a superpower in the information age. Today, we are inundated with information. News headlines, social media posts, advertising, political rhetoric, it's everywhere. But information is not wisdom. In fact, without discernment, more information can lead to more confusion. The Socratic Method trains you to think, not just consume. Instead of passively absorbing content, you start to analyze, who is the source? What are their assumptions? What evidence is provided? What might they be leaving out? This level of awareness is crucial in a world where misinformation spreads rapidly and where emotional manipulation often takes precedence over rational debate. 3. It encourages intellectual humility. One of the most significant insights from Socrates was recognizing the limits of his knowledge. As he famously said, "I know that I know nothing." Far from being a statement of ignorance, this is a declaration of intellectual humility. It's a reminder that acknowledging uncertainty is the first step toward genuine understanding. When you question everything, including your own beliefs, you realize how much you still have to learn. This humility opens the door to growth, empathy, and deeper insight. 4. It improves communication and relationships. Socratic questioning isn't just about abstract ideas, it's a powerful communication tool. Instead of reacting impulsively or imposing your viewpoint, you engage others in thoughtful conversation. Asking questions like, "What do you mean by that?" Can you give me an example? Why do you feel that way? Can de-escalate arguments, deepen understanding, and build mutual respect. Whether in romantic relationships, friendships, or workplace interactions, this approach fosters more meaningful dialogue. Where the Socratic method is used today. Though it originated in ancient Greece, the Socratic method remains a cornerstone in several modern fields. Education. Progressive educators increasingly emphasize inquiry-based learning, where students are encouraged to question, debate, and explore topics rather than passively memorize facts. Socratic seminars, structured group dialogues centered around a central question or text, are now common in schools and universities worldwide. Law. Law schools, particularly in the United States, rely heavily on Socratic questioning. Professors challenge students with hypothetical scenarios, forcing them to think on their feet and defend legal principles under pressure. The goal? To cultivate sharp reasoning, clarity, and mental agility. Psychotherapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, one of the most effective forms of modern therapy, incorporates Socratic questioning to help clients examine their beliefs and emotional responses. A therapist might ask, what's the evidence for that thought? Is there another way to view this situation? What would you tell a friend who felt this way? These questions help clients break free from harmful thinking patterns. Business and leadership. Great leaders don't just give answers, they ask questions. In high-performing organizations, leaders use Socratic questioning to clarify goals, challenge assumptions, foster innovation, encourage diverse perspectives. Rather than relying on top-down directives, Socratic leaders build cultures of curiosity and accountability. How to practice the Socratic method in everyday life. You don't need to be a philosopher or professor to use this method. Here are some practical steps for applying Socratic questioning in daily life. 1. Be curious, not combative. The Socratic method is about inquiry, not interrogation. Ask questions to understand, not to trap others or win debates. 2. Define terms. Many disagreements happen because people use the exact words but mean different things. Ask, what exactly do you mean by that? Can you define that more clearly? 3. Seek evidence. Don't accept claims without support. Ask, what evidence supports that idea? Is that based on personal experience or objective data? 4. Challenge assumptions. Dig into the foundations of a belief. What are we assuming here? Is that always true? 5. Explore alternatives. Open your mind to other views. What's another way to look at this? What might someone who disagrees say? 6. Examine consequences. Ask about implications. If we follow this idea, what might happen? What are the long-term effects? 7. Apply it to yourself. Don't just question others, turn the lens inward. Challenge your own beliefs, biases, and habits. Ask yourself, why do I believe this? Where did this belief come from? Could I be wrong? The risks of not questioning. It's tempting to avoid difficult questions. Questioning can feel uncomfortable, especially when it challenges long-held beliefs or social norms. But the alternative is far more dangerous. History shows what happens when questioning stops. Totalitarian regimes rise, cults form, scientific progress stalls, mass delusions take root. From the Inquisition to propaganda-fueled wars, the absence of critical thought has led to some of humanity's darkest chapters. By contrast, the most significant leaps forward, from democracy and civil rights to scientific revolutions, began with people who dared to question the status quo. The examined life. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." While that may sound extreme, there's a powerful truth behind it. To question everything is not to live in doubt or paralysis. It is to live consciously, to live with intention, to engage with the world as a thinker, not just a follower. The Socratic method isn't about tearing ideas down. It's about building stronger ones. It's about discovering what's real, what matters, and how we ought to live. So the next time you hear a bold claim, a popular opinion, or even your own inner voice, pause and ask, is this really true? You might be surprised by what you find.